Is my current way of living reflective of the way I need to be living in order to feel less anxious? The first thing from my own perspective that I find important is looking at anxiety as a friend rather than an enemy, especially when it feels as if it is an enemy. So if you struggle with anxiety or have struggled with it in the past, it doesn't feel nice. It feels like it's trying to invade and take over your life, which doesn't appear very, very friendly. But when we look at anxiety from a physiological perspective, there's a part within your brain that is constantly on the lookout for threats. Now, if you went through an experience or a multitude of experiences in the past when you had to keep your eye out for threats, you might have been in a threatening or dangerous situation, that part of your brain would have become heightened in that moment. And that part of your brain, it doesn't forget about scary, traumatic or threatening experiences. So when the threat passes, that part of the brain, it's still hypersensitive, so it's still looking out for threats. Now, when we look at anxiety from that perspective, what it was trying to do in the past when we were going through threatening situations, it was trying to help us get out of them. It was trying to help us evade them, and therefore it was being a friend rather than a foe. And as I mentioned, when threatening experiences pass, that part of the brain can become hypersensitive, and it can make us think way off into the future to try and help us prevent similar threatening situations from occurring. When you take that perspective, that anxiety, rather than being an enemy, it's actually a friend. And a way to kind of enhance this is you can look at anxiety as an overly cautious and caring friend or family member. Anything we do, they're trying to protect us, they're trying to keep us safe, they're asking us, are you okay every 2 minutes, so on and so forth. And it can get to a point where it becomes a little bit annoying. Anxiety is just like that friend or family member. It's overly cautious, it's overly caring, and its purpose is to try and keep you safe. Now, when you bring that perspective to mind, when you're feeling anxious, so rather than trying to fight back against it or force yourself away from it, when you look at it as a friend, it becomes a little bit easier to disentangle from the web of anxiety. So that's kind of a perspective that I have on anxiety, and I find it helps in terms of kind of practical tools that I use to help manage it. Anxiety needs a positive outlet, and if you do not consciously find a positive outlet for it, it will find an outlet itself. A lot of the time the outlet may not serve you. It might immediately ease anxious symptoms, i.e. let's say if you're feeling really anxious and you don't have any constructive outlets for it, you might automatically go to food or cigarettes or vapes, whatever it may be, and that might give you immediate relief within the moment, but long term all it does is perpetuate the problem. Engage in constructive activities that not only give you immediate relief from it, but that are also good for you long term. The things that work best for myself: breath work. When I engage, if I'm feeling anxious, rather than running away from it, if I just focus on my breath and let anxiety do what it does in the background, the anxious symptoms, they soon decrease most of the time. Exercise, and then more kind of broader things that can help you is kind of just looking at your lifestyle, your day-to-day lifestyle in general, and asking yourself the simple question: is my current way of living reflective of the way I need to be living in order to feel less anxious? If the answer is no, you might have a look at the certain things that you may need to change and set yourself some goals to help you change that. Support networks are very important as well. If I'm feeling really anxious, I have a lot going on between work, college, personal life, it can be quite overwhelming. I can get quite anxious with it all. If I did not have a solid support network around me, all I need to do is, if I'm feeling really stressed or unsure of something, I'll give you an example. The other night, as part of my assignment, I have to do an evaluation of research methods conducted in a scientific paper, and I felt very, very overwhelmed and anxious with it. What I done was I rang my friend, he has experience in the same kind of avenue that I am currently in, and after the call I felt a lot less anxious, a lot more certain in my ability to do what needs to be done. So having a support outlet is very, very important, and they are the things that really work for myself. So that's basically that.